Hey everybody, we got another exciting video for you today. We're going to be making a spelter bronze buffalo skull. I'm calling it spelter. That is what they used to call these castings in the past. The zinc alloy castings. This is actually a Zamac or monkey metal or die cast type metal. Anyway, I love it. You guys, if you are not casting in this, it is awesome. It does have some drawbacks here and there, and we can discuss those in the future, but it is a very cool metal. And it's easier than getting into bronze right off. It's way more forgiving, and you can get castings way easier than bronze. There's less problems, I guess is what we should say. So I'm starting out with a wax piece that I got from my father, and we'll go ahead and do the wax cleanup, and then right here we're spruing it up. We're starting the spruing process. And with the Zamac, we don't have to be too intense with our spruing, as it melting temperature is just under 900 degrees. And yeah, so it flows into all of the parts and pieces really well, takes on all of the detail, and it does have some shrinkage issues. We'll talk about that at the end. But here we're just spruing it up, and I'm using some sprue wax and that I purchased off Amazon. So these are about 3/8 of an inch thick, and they work good. I do plan on making a video here in the near future of making our own sprues out of some wood dowels. Anyway, on to this part. This is my product called HellFire, and it's something I developed to make home casting easier, I guess. And it works really well. It has really awesome thermal shock properties where it doesn't crack as easy as your suspended slurry. Now I am using a suspended slurry product here, or a slurry product rather. I'm trying some different colors. I added some green dyes in just to see what it would do. This is actually the second or third coat. I think it's the second coat. Anyway, you just brush it on, and this is what I'm using for a primer. The HellFire itself, my product has an issue against wax, so it has a problem with that. So anyway, I can talk more about that later, but this is HellFire here. We're putting on a coat, and I lost some of the video file for the one that I was working on, so this is an older video file, but it shows the same thing. So we're just brushing on coats, and I like 4 or 5 coats of the HellFire, 3 to 4 coats of the primer, 4 to 5 of the HellFire, and then after that you let it completely air dry, and then once it's air dry, then we bring it out. And this is actually my Foundry burner, because I had lost my weed burner for a few minutes and couldn't find it anyway, so I just pulled this. And this is what I had been using for quite a while. I've got a new burner now, but this is my Foundry burner that I built. It worked pretty good. So we'll just go ahead and melt the wax out. And the important thing about melting wax out of your piece is you start at the bottom and you work your way up. So you're drawing the wax from the bottom up. And the reason why you start from the bottom up is if you take the torch and burn the entire thing out all at once, the wax inside the piece expands all at once, and then that gives you cracks. And that's what we're trying to avoid. So HellFire is great at avoiding cracks to some degree, but it does have its limitations. So start from the bottom up, work up to the top of the piece, melting the wax out. And we're also not looking at this point to completely vitrify the ceramic shell of HellFire and the suspended slurry. We're only looking at burning out all of the wax. We don't want to get this thing glowing hot red. That's not our purpose on this part. Once we get it burned out and it stops, basically the flame stops coming out the bottom of the piece, then we'll go ahead and bring them in and stick them in the kiln. If you don't have a kiln, I'll do a video here in the future showing you how to do, especially pieces this size, right in your foundry. You can do the same thing without a kiln. So it won't stop you from casting if you don't have a kiln, but a kiln is the best way, easiest and best way to burn out and vitrify the remaining wax and harden the shell. So now this is these are some faucets. I'm a handyman by trade, and these are some faucets that came off a job site, and most of it is actually brass, but the handles and a few other parts are the die cast, a zinc die cast. And I think they were actually kind of a low quality die cast, as I had some issues with the casting when I went to demold it. Anyway, we can talk about that too. So I'm just taking off all of the zinc parts, and that's what we're going to use to cast this piece. So it's really a cool thing that you can take and recycle old things and make beautiful pieces of artwork with this process. So I just think that's really cool. So starting up our foundry, and this is just a garbage can that I've converted over into a foundry, lined it with kaolwool and then a refractory cement over that. And this burner, I'll leave a link in the description for this burner. NoBox7 on YouTube is the guy that I got this burner from. It's awesome. It'll melt cast iron with propane, which is an amazing thing. I'm still learning its parameters, and I actually, here in a second, I'll show you. I got it way too hot for the zinc alloy, and it was smoking like a chimney. It was insane. So, and the zinc alloys, by the way, wear a mask, do it outside, and do not breathe in that smoke or the fumes coming off of the crucible when you're melting down the zinc. But we've got it melted down, and it's really easy to melt down. That new torch just 5-10 minutes later, and that was melted down. So it's fast. I'm actually gotta back down that burner a lot, because we don't want this again where it's smoking like this. This is a not a no-no, but we took it way past where it needed to be, and it happened so fast that I didn't catch it in time. Anyway, so these are all tools that I made for the casting process. Most those tongs there were for a fire pit, fire logs, and I just welded some fingers on it, and they work really well. They're limited in the weight that they can handle, so I might build something a little heavier duty in the future. So anyway, we'll go ahead and pour that in, and those shells just came out of the kiln and are piping hot, so we know that it'll cast all the way through. And this isn't as important with the zinc alloys as it is with a bronze alloy or brass or some others, but it does help to get all of the details, to have your molds warm or even hot. So we'll pour off the excess here and go ahead and demold these here in a minute. And the zinc too takes a while to solidify, so don't get too excited to dip them. I do like dipping my shells. I'm wondering though if the problem I had with that I mentioned earlier, when I dip these, and I'm talking, there's two shells here. One's a future video. That's actually the next video that we'll be doing. So, but as I dipped it, I'm wondering if it hardened the metal and actually caused some cracks here. As I'm chipping it off, it takes a part of the horn that I had to solder on some alloy back onto the piece. I didn't show that on the film, but we may cover that in a future video. But you see how that casting cup just came right off? I'm wondering if that's because I dipped it too quick. So I like dipping it though. Even if it was all the way cooled down, I'd still dip it. as this takes the dust away from the ceramic. I mean, ceramic dust is not something you should be breathing or avoid breathing. So I dip it just as a little precaution, so we're not breathing in extra things that may cause lung issues. So just a little safety tip there. So there it is, all demolded, and turned out really nice. You can see that horn was broken off right at the tip, and not a huge deal. You could actually just sharpen it up and make it better that way, but I did add some alloy to it using a torch and what's called muggy weld. But our spelter piece is really easy to clean up to do the metal chasing on. I just use a Dremel. This is a cutting blade here. I actually have some better cutting blades, but my kids had run off with it for a little bit, so I wasn't sure where it was at. So this is one of the smaller cutting blades. Doesn't work quite as well, but it still works. And then you can use different bits to do the rest of the metal chasing. But before that, before I did the rest of the metal chasing, you bring it over, sandblast it. I do have a box sandblaster that I got from Harbor Freight. Works amazing, but it is getting everywhere. So I gotta go in and clean it up and fill the seams with caulking so that it doesn't get the dust everywhere when I'm using it. So back to the metal chasing. I'm using some metal burrs. These also I bought off of Amazon. These are just metal carving burrs, real cheap. I think $14-15 for a pack of them. And then this is just a flap disc. I think it's like a 40 or 60 grit flap disc. That gets the grind marks off from those burrs and your cuts and things. And then from there you can go down in grits and things to there's just a whole bunch of tools you can metal chase with. And so yeah, there it is, generally cleaned up, looking pretty good. So after we get it cleaned up and buffed up a little bit, metal chasing done. This is an acid, and I'll do a video on this. When I get that video done, I'll link it here. But this is just an acid wash to darken the metal. So, and then we come back with a little wire wheel and accent the piece where we want to, and polish out some areas that we want to make look pretty. So it works really well. And you do want to, when you dip this in acid, you do want to wash the acid off before we continue on the process, as it will continue to darken a lot if you don't get that acid off there. It'll keep reacting. So where you're buffing it out, it'll continue to darken if you don't get that acid off. So just a little note there. Here I'm using a, I guess you call them a die grinder. Anyway, this is a felt pad that goes on it, and that's polishing compound. That brick I have there is a polishing compound, and I'm just using it to get a high sheen on the finished metal. It just looks really cool when you get it accented out with the high sheen. You can do this part with the Dremel too. It works. Not quite as effective, but it does work. So yeah, there you go. That's just how you cast and clean and make a beautiful piece out of recycled monkey metal, Again, I'm calling this a spelter bronze. I love this metal, guys. It is awesome. So I'm going to be doing a whole bunch of videos using this product, and I'll show you ways to pick it up on the cheap. It's everywhere. It's used by many manufacturing processes, and it just turns out beautiful. I love the silver and black tones, and it makes cool pieces. So there you have it, guys. I hope you enjoyed the video. Please subscribe. I'm going to be coming out with a whole bunch of videos on metal casting. I've got some sand casting videos coming with a resin bonded sand. Yes, we just have a lot coming. So subscribe and follow, and hope to see you in the next video.